On my mind, gotta hustle and grind. Financial literacy always on my mind. I'm stacking knowledge, no time to waste. Gotta invest smart, gotta keep up the pace. I'm reading books, learning all the tricks, studying the market, making calculated picks.
What's good, everybody? It's your boy Reckless Ray De Niro, and we are back at it again with another Bag Talk episode. We're going to jump into some Bitcoin personal finance. How I am actually, this is going to be brass tacks for those of you who are not involved in Bitcoin. Now, me personally, I run my finances from a Bitcoin standard. I am a Bitcoin first person. Unfortunately, I'm not a rich person yet. And not being rich means that the traditional, you just acquire a bunch of Bitcoin and then maybe leverage it, buy, borrow, die, isn't actually applicable. I'm a blue collar worker. I make under six figures. Those of you who are probably might be stopping in and are new to the platform, I'm tracking my financial journey. I've got about 15 months left of having to go to work, which was a big metric for me, is being able to be out of the rat race. Does that mean I'm going to not go to work and kick my feet up on a beach? No, because I'm not lazy. But the having to be there is a totally different conversation. And one of the things that I've come to realize is the negotiations, what you're willing to tolerate, becomes drastically different when you don't have to be there and they don't have leverage over you. Like, I can tell any job at any point where they can stick it because I'll be able to afford to self-sustain being at home. This channel is a dedication to tracking that journey. I'd give updates every month. I show portfolios. I give receipts about what I'm doing with my money. This is not financial advice because we don't always make money around here. Not every I don't trade, but not every position I get in is the best position. I do make faux pas just like everybody else with personal finance. But what I am doing is going through the motions, recording the wins, losses, forward progress, which we generally have, and putting that out there so that way the people who aren't listening to me that are close to me now, when they're ready to have those conversations about what I did and how I got so lucky, they can come back and watch this, because at that point I'm not going to want to talk about it. Probably I'm going to be on to whatever I'm doing then that they're not going to be able to do, because there are levels to this. And like, once you have more money, you have more opportunity, you have more ability to take risk. So with that stated, this is going to be building from scratch to fully invested. Now, this is going to be based on coming from a Bitcoin standard, and it will be similar, probably a lot shorter than the blue collar playbook that I've already put together, because I've already lined out this plan, but I wanted to retouch on it again. So starting off from scratch, obviously, you don't have a whole lot of money. When I started off from scratch, I did not have a whole lot of money either. You can't just go buy Bitcoin and just start leveraging it immediately. There's metrics, there's certain levels you have to hit. First of which being, for Bitcoin, at least at the time of this recording, you have to have at least $10,000 to even start leveraging Bitcoin. And that's $10,000 to borrow $5,000. Now, before we get into leveraging, you have to understand why you would leverage. Now, some people will be like, lifestyle. I'm going to go on girls trip. I'm going to go buy some rims. That's what poor people do. Now, that's a good way to blow your account up and probably lose your Bitcoin position and end up feeling bad because you purchased an experience or a depreciating asset with no means of paying back the loan. Now, for me specifically, I don't like navigating that way, especially when we've been given the game on how to not navigate that way by Michael Saylor. And it appalls me how many people are familiar with MicroStrategy that have seen what Saylor has done and not gone, how do I apply that to my existence? But I digress. So there has to be, before you get to the $10,000 mark, there has to be something in place to repay that loan. Now, in general, that's going to be your job. For me, my W-2 is partially involved in that. Now that I am actually fully invested, I have been for a few months now. We've been tracking that. Things have shifted a little bit for me. Things are getting a little bit easier. The number go up is going up a little bit harder. But you have to have a means with which to pay back the loan, which leads into why when we take leverage is so important. Now, the poor and working class, and I see you guys out there, I see you saving up all year to go on your girls' trip, to look like you're getting some motion in. I see it. I see what you're doing. I see every year you're wanting to upgrade the car. You're wanting to put new rims on it. See what I got. I see it. I see you guys talking big on the internet about the motion that you've got. Oh, I'm doing this. I'm doing that. Oh, I've got so much money, and then getting laid off, and apparently your portfolio can't sustain you. I see it. And that's because even though you make a good income, even though you can afford the girls' trip, even though you can afford the new Hellcat, even though you can afford the new rims to upgrade the whip, mentally, you function like a peasant. Because you can do that once a year, but if anything goes wrong, now you're in dire straits and complaining on the internet. Now you're airing out your dirty laundry on the internet. We get it. We get it. Now everybody's so broken and somebody needs to sustain your lifestyle. Sprinkle, sprinkle. I get it. Because you can't do it yourself. So you want to mess up your finances. Not only are your finances actually messed up, you want to mess up somebody else's finances because they got to pay for you now because your money's your money and his money's your money. I get it. I get it. I see it. That mindset is for people who lose at the game of life. That is a loser's mindset. Why? Because it doesn't yield the results that you want. I get it. It's important to be able to go on those girls' trips. It's important to be able to get that Hellcat to impress those chicks so that you can get them to not go on those girls' trips and hopefully hang out with you. It's important to get those rims so that you can feel like you're doing something that other people aren't doing. The problem is you're all doing it. You're all in debt up to your eyeballs. Your finances are a wreck. You have no financial structure. So every dollar that you have coming in is either going right out the door or being saved to go right out the door in bulk for said trip, for said car, for said rims. Constantly running in place, constantly having to get a new job. And then all of a sudden, the new job with the raise, that money's gone. Now, me personally, I'd be sitting there, I say it too, I'm broke, baby. But we're broke for different reasons. And this is where the importance of understanding what debt actually is and how to use it come into play. Because I'll take debt. I have debt right now. But the debt that I have is asset backed. The debt that I have goes into my financial system first, and then we pay all of our bills out of the financial system. It functions as a flywheel at that point. When I pulled $23,000 last month, that money went into my financial system. Now, originally, I would have used it to pay down the debt and move it over into lower interest. But you know what else is lower interest? My brokerage account is an order of magnitude lower interest than my consumer debt. So if I can get a cushion of a little bit of time where I'm paying 0%, 0.99%, and I can put it into my financial system where I'm getting 79%, 30%, why would I not do that? And then use that income that's being generated, around $40,000 a year, straight into paying off debt, paying off that margin, and pull that debt over in chunks. And you know what? You pay a little bit on the upfront because it's like, oh, you could have had this in that 0% earlier. You paid those couple of months. You had to pay for that. Yeah, I can afford it because my brokerage pays for it. And that brokerage is consistently growing because I'm fully invested, so the money goes in there first. Which brings me back to the point at hand. There has to be an income machine for those of us who are still working. If you're still working, you pretty much have to build an income machine if you want to stop working early, because what they tell you and what reality is are two totally different things. Things they tell you, oh, you've got to have $10 million or you're broke. That is not true. I consider broke having to go to work. You're broke if you have to go to work. If you have to report to a job, you are broke because you have to go there. If you have to keep making YouTube videos, you are broke. Your income comes from YouTube. That is a job now. You got to show up every day. You got to keep pumping out content. You got to be in the algorithm all the time. And you can't stop. You are broke. You can't stop doing it. You couldn't stop if you wanted to. And I understand everybody gets to give the highlight reels because we're all online, but that's just the reality. I still go to a W-2 job. Therefore, I have to be there at this point. I know exactly when I no longer have to be there. And you know what? If it's a job where you're in a situation where it's not the greatest for you, that's actually really useful tool, having a light at the end of the tunnel for your mental health, because a lot of you go to jobs that you hate every day. A lot of you make YouTube videos that you hate every day on topics that you hate every day because you got to get in the algorithm because you need to constantly go viral. You get on here and you say stupid stuff that you don't actually even believe, stuff that you don't actually live by. To exist in this space, that is work. Not only is it work, you're selling your character, you're selling your values, you're selling your soul. Because you have to. Because this is the easiest way to make money. For those of you who are consistently trying to be in the algorithm going viral. Like, I get it. I get it. I see you. I see you lying. I see you guys going into crippling debt because you were making money on TikTok, and then as soon as TikTok got bought by those people, they stopped paying you because they knew you were going to post anyway. I see you. Now you're all complaining. And you're poor. You're actually poor. You're broke. But old Ray Bear don't know what he's talking about. You're crazy for buying Bitcoin. You're crazy for calling your shots, telling people straight up. I'm the loudest quitter on the planet. I got X amount of months and I ain't got to be here. And I'll tell you that to your face. Because at this point, I don't need a specific job. I just need some income for 15 months. And every time we get paid that fully investment, it chunks a little bit off of that. So it's not even 15 months, actually. That's the worst case scenario. Bitcoin's starting to pump. Might be even less. Opened up my brokerage account before I started recording this. Good God, we took a jump. It is what it is. I'm fully invested. I got a lot of money that I can pull from to get stuff done that I need to get done. And I got income coming in to pay back the loan. So one of the reasons I'm not fully invested in Bitcoin anymore is because I realized that I wasn't going to be able to make money fast enough, even with the growth of Bitcoin, to replace that income. So I had to take a slight detour. I had to go make an income that was going to be large enough for me to start chipping away at the time that I have to be at a 9 to 5. And in doing so, I realized, I should be doing what Sailor's doing, which means that not only do we have to build an income machine, we also have to get our Bitcoin in position. As much of it as I have on cold storage, I have to have a little bit that's active on a platform, which I'm not a fan of unless it's money that you're using. So I have money that I'm using on a platform. Great. That's going to be the first step, is building that financial machine. Now, how did I do that? I personally am a big advocate of high yield dividends. Does it take some work? Yes. Is it as hard as going to a 9 to 5? No. Is it as hard for me specifically as going in and getting a second side gig, hustle culture? No. It's not as taxing on my body. I mean, I could go get in the car. I've done it before. I did it for 3 years, working 60 to 100 hours a week to get my spark flowing. I had a little mess I had to clean up. And you got to do what you got to do. I didn't have another way, so it was just work hard. And I think that most of you are going to have a time where you go through that dark period where you put your nose to the grindstone and work hard. Some of you are in positions where you need to just work hard. You can't skip steps. You can try to skip steps. It's not going to work, most likely. For those of you that are high income earners, maybe you can skip the step. You're already working hard. You already got the income coming in. You tricking it off. You're making bad financial decisions. That's different. But if you're where I was, where you're, making average income, not over 6 figures, which is apparently a demarcation point because 6 figures apparently isn't that much anymore. I mean, it is if you have a financial structure. But, for those of you who are not in that position, you might have to go to work again after you get off work. You might have to go to work again on your days off. You might have to do what needs to be done to change the trajectory of your life unless you're going to settle for the mediocrity that you've created for yourself. And I say that you've created because unless you own your business and provide jobs to other people, you elected to take the job that you have. And, sometimes you got to take what you got to do. You got to get some income. Like I'm not hating, but it is what it is. You chose to work there. Like if you need to make a change, then like maybe your time is better spent instead of getting that side job, getting a side skill. Go get a skill to get out of that job, to get in a position where you make more money. A lot of manual labor's hiring, a lot of trades hiring constantly. That's what I did. I decided to get into a trade. I got out of an office, got into a trade. I come home dirty some days, make more money than I made in the office. A lot of those people in those offices, y'all are getting laid off anyways because of AI. All the smart jobs getting taken from you. Might want to go learn a skill if you're going to have to work. Then me going and learning a skill, I also understood, hey, I might get replaced someday. So I got to figure out how to make money and capitalize on this so that I don't have to go to work. So that way, if they tell me, hey, Ray, robot took your job, you got to go home. I'm like, good, I'm good. I was making more money at home anyway. Bet. Be knee deep in this portfolio now. But you gotta create that income so that way you don't have to ask for a handout. I create my own stimulus check every week. I get paid every week. You need a lot less money if you don't have to leave your house. Then it's lifestyle. It's based on what you want to do, like what you want to buy. They keep telling you got to buy stuff. That's another trick that they pull on you. You got to buy this. You got to have that. You got to keep up with the Joneses. I don't have to keep up with anybody because Jones has got to go to work. Joneses need to keep up with me. Do you get to stay at home, Mr. Jones? Mrs. Jones? You both working? 2-income household, huh? You both got to go to work. That's a double slave household. Crazy. I'm trying to keep up with you. I don't care what you have. You have to go to work to sustain that. Like you have to go into that job you hate. Not only that, your wife got to go in. Y'all 50-50 and broke. 50-50 in slavery. Congratulations. No financial structure. Worried about if one of you gets laid off because you need both incomes. You bought a house that neither one of you could sustain on your own. Things don't work out. Now the house got to go because nobody can afford to maintain it. Sucks to suck. So you got to build that foundation of income. However you choose to do it, I've got a lot of videos on how my accounts are set up. If you guys check out the Bag Talk, I talk about it regularly. I give an update every month, and it's a core tenet, but underneath that, Bitcoin's a foundation. We've also recently got to the point to where we've got enough extra Bitcoin to where I can keep a minimal amount on a platform so that I can start leveraging it. That's the next level. It's being able to leverage your assets. Now, after the income, you got to have that foundation. What's that going to be made out of? Your long-term holdings. These are not things that you trade. These are long-term holdings. These are things that you are buying with the intent of never getting rid of. I've got a long-term holding portfolio. Now I do have a couple of, actually I have one moonshot position in there. It's the one that's not doing well. So every time I show it, it's the one that's got the big red number. It's just like, hey, but there's also not a lot of money in that position. It's like $100, whatever. Because I'm not a big trader. Your long-term holdings are things that we can borrow against. We leverage all sorts of stuff. I do believe in productive debt. What do we leverage for? I leverage personally to buy more assets, and in certain cases to live off of out of my income portfolio, because my income portfolio is strategically set up to where I can borrow against that also. That way I can manage my debt. I can manage my daily life. Do we still have credit cards? Absolutely, because we're going to get them points. We're going to get that extra cash. But we're in a position now to where the daily driver, we're paying that off at the end of the month. We're at a position now to where we're taking chunks of debt from the other cards and pulling that into the financial structure and allowing it to pay off that debt. In order to be able to do that efficiently, you've got to be able to borrow against your assets. Because if you're just buying, holding them, and saving them, then like now you no longer have the asset. Like, yes, the debt is gone, but you don't have the asset anymore. Not only that, you've incurred a taxable event. So at the end of the year, now you get to pay for selling that asset off. Again, financial structure, the way that we use money is different. So if I was building out from scratch, I would start with the income portfolio. Now, if you guys, again, referencing the blue collar playbook, for those of you who are high earners, that was specifically made for a buddy of mine who's a trucker that is a high earner. Him and his wife making about 3 something a year. They doing the team driving, working as a unit with a goal. That will work for other high earners as well. You don't have to be blue collar. I know it says blue collar in the title, but that's who asked for it. So that's what it is. You got to give a homage. I personally am blue collar as well. So got to shout out your people. I'm not making 3. I ain't making what they making, but there's levels. Building and setting up that initial financial structure, and that portfolio actually had long terms mixed with income, so that way you could do it within one portfolio. Where I would also do this starting out with not necessarily enough income to really get in and work in full shares, not being invested, you're investing whatever you've got left over. I invest everything first. So it's a little bit different. But the platform that I would use personally is Robinhood. I do have a referral link down in the description if you are not set up on there. The reason I like it is starting out, user-friendly, very, they allow fractional shares, which makes it so that you can put a smaller sum of money in there and break it up the way that you need to have it broken up based on your financial structure without having to worry about having to buy whole shares. Also, the margin over there, if you are a gold member, which is only $50 a year, well worth it. The first $1,000, they don't charge you any interest on. After you get over the first $1,000, the interest that you are charged is the lowest interest that you could possibly be charged. They're always the lowest. It's like 5%, which for the brokers that I'm on, I'm personally, I have a Robinhood, but I also use Schwab, and Schwab is the portfolios that we're starting with first because they were the larger ones. We're getting ready to have to negotiate down our margin rate because I run margin and it's a few $1,000s in margin, and it's much higher percentage than what I would be paying if it were over on Robinhood. I have a portfolio specifically that's going to be built over on Robinhood, which is why I have that portfolio. But as it sits right now, we're not utilizing it as much. Like there's some stuff that's just sitting there that we've got that is in kind of stasis. It's making a little bit of money at a time. Like we've got the portfolio kind of started and we're working with what we got. But overall, we're not there yet. I got two portfolios to finish in my Schwab account, and then we're moving over there because that's going to be my daily driver lifestyle portfolio that we'll be building over there. And that is the last thing on my list since, we've already got stuff rolling over on Schwab. But the interest that you pay, kind of important, and we're going to be negotiating down the Charles Schwab interest because I could just move that and swap it around and make Schwab the lifestyle portfolio if I needed to, and just move everything over. And that's going to be the conversation that we're going to have, because I could condense down my Schwab to the 1-2 accounts that I need over there and run it like that. I would build that income up, take a portion of it, kind of like what I do now. I would have, once I got to a point where I could go fully invested, I would then have it set up pretty much how I have it set up now. 10%, which was what I would have for savings, going into Bitcoin directly. That would go on cold storage until I had at least 0.25 in cold storage. I would normally tell you to get a whole one. A lot of people aren't capable of doing that, so that's not a fair ask. 0.25 a year, you can do that. And I would get my first 0.25 in cold storage, and I would look at that as retirement. Then I would get another 0.25 on a platform that I could leverage. I personally use Nexo. I also use Strike, both of which have referrals down in the comments. If you are not set up on those platforms, I like Strike personally, just because you can pull it off your direct deposit and automate your Bitcoin buying. And if you do it via direct deposit, they don't charge you a fee. So I buy Bitcoin over there regardless. Nexo is where I use to leverage, and I just buy over there, send it over to Nexo, and just let it sit. That's the way that I have it set up. Like, I like Strike. As soon as they get the line of credit set up, I might consider condensing back down to just Strike, because getting money in and out is a little bit easier. Like, it's kind of a little bit of a pain in the butt to get that loan through on Nexo. There's a little bit of back and forth, but they just got back in the United States and they're still ironing out those financial railways. So I think that's probably why, generally speaking, once a establishment gets their paperwork and stuff filled out, those rails, they'll run the same wherever you're at. One thing I do love about Nexo is they use FedWire, which gives you your money instantly. So when you take out the loan, as soon as the loan is approved, right at that moment, it shows up in your bank account ready to go. That's why I use that platform. Very smooth once it's set up and running. And then again, the flywheels that you have, we've also talked about the Cash App flywheel when you're first starting off. That's a good one to set up if you're not over on Cash App. Got a referral for that. If you want to support the channel, use the referrals. I normally get like a little something, a little treat, and you get a little discount. That's another flywheel that I'm still actively using. Also, cash advance credit cards that send you checks. Why the ones that send you checks? Because you can turn those checks into cash in your bank account. Another flywheel that I regularly use. Why is that? Because being able to balance transfer is one thing. Being able to balance transfer and write yourself a check for cash is a whole nother ballpark, because again, we use debt to buy assets within my financial structure. I'm not using the debt to go buy the thing. I use my brokerage account to go buy the thing, which means that all debt that I utilize, more or less outside of like the daily driver credit card to go like to the store and stuff and get the points, Every other form of debt that involves giving me cash, even when I took out, like, I don't do car loans anymore. I'll do a personal loan and pay a little bit extra to go buy a car because I can over collateralize and take a higher loan out and put money into my financial structure because my brokerage account pays my car note, pays that loan back. And people are like, oh, well, you're paying more. And I'm like, well, first of all, I don't take loans out for over 36 months at most. Secondly, a car loan, you're locked into just buying that car, which is a depreciating asset. When I take out a personal loan and use some of those funds to buy the car, I can take a chunk of that money and put it into my financial structure, which gives me more ability, kicks up my income every month, and gives me the ability to, again, now that pays back the car note. These are the things that people don't look at, the strategies that people don't look at. And, we do the SoFi loan. Again, they give you money instantly. It's super fast, super easy. Set up auto pay for it, super fast, super easy. They'll just come and deduct it out of your account. All you got to do is move the money and have it sitting there waiting for them. I love it. Those also become flywheels for the income portfolio. So now you have income generated. So if you stop working, you can still pull those loans. Like, my credit is good. They send me those checks quarterly. You're making money from distributions, but every, I'd say, 6 to 10 months, as long as you're cycling and paying those loans off, you're getting another opportunity to borrow against it. With my Bitcoin loans, as I'm borrowing from my Bitcoin collateral, as I pay those loans off, again, another $5,000 you get to inject into the system. It lands in the income portfolio, and then you get to pick how you're using it strategically out of the new income that you've created. Also, all loans that I take 10% of those loans and buy Bitcoin, physical Bitcoin. So it either goes into my active Bitcoin allocation that I'm borrowing against, or it goes into cold storage. 2 places that it sits. Also, living on a Bitcoin standard, most of my long-term holdings are Bitcoin treasuries. So you take a portion of that every year if you're in profit, kick that over to physical Bitcoin. Now your Bitcoin allocation's constantly going up. You take a little bit of it, you put it over in the active Bitcoin pool. Now my borrowing ability for that pool of Bitcoin goes up. Rest of it goes in cold storage. Now my retirement Bitcoin holdings go up. And you're getting the exponential growth off of all of it. My income portfolio, since my W-2 lands there, constantly going up. Whenever we pull those flywheels via the loans, that income pool also constantly going up. And eventually, when you're no longer in the workforce, you're just dealing with the flywheels. The income pool is generating your income. And you have your Bitcoin for long-term holdings and your long-term holding portfolio for long-term holdings. Now, this doesn't have to be Bitcoin-based. I live on a Bitcoin standard, and this is my way of staying true to that, even when I'm using things that I'm like, hey, this might not outperform Bitcoin, but it's going to give me income, and Bitcoin at present doesn't give me an opportunity to do that. Some of my income holdings are touching on Bitcoin, though. It's Bitcoin, digital credit, and AI chips and semiconductors, narratives, a couple of narratives, and then the rest of it is diversification for within the tech sector and maybe a little bit of the S&P 500. It's the whole structure that makes it work, though. And all of this allows me to constantly be getting more Bitcoin. I'm constantly now buying Bitcoin, even though it's not necessarily being fully invested in Bitcoin. But eventually, after I get the income account set up, I can switch to where 90% of my portfolio, and I'll flop it. It'll be 90% of my portfolio will go directly into Bitcoin every month. I'll get paid in Bitcoin for the rest of the time that I'm working. I won't have to be there, but while I'm there, I'll be getting all the Bitcoin I can get my grubby little hands on. At which I can then move it over into the Bitcoin pile and cold storage. Now I'm building up that collateral base. And then I can just, whenever I take those loans, the majority of the loan, obviously, if I'm fully invested in Bitcoin, then I won't have to take a little bit off to buy additional Bitcoin when I take the loan. So it'll just be, hey, income, 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 and just ratchet those flywheels up. But I have a lot of tools at my disposal within my financial structure to be able to do that. And like, I only really need the two things. I need income, long-term holding collateral, which is based on a Bitcoin standard. I just need two levers at this juncture with the tools that we have available right now. Now, as new tools become available, you know what? Maybe we'll consider it, but I've got two things. I need to do two things. Right now, I need to go to work, get some W-2 income, be fully invested into my income portfolio, and then a little bit in my long-term portfolios. And then as I'm borrowing money, buying Bitcoin or amplified Bitcoin exposure in the long-term portfolio. Two levers: loans, income. That's it. And we're going to close it out with that. I hope this helps some people. Tap in with me down in the comments. Let me know what you thought. We're trying to get some more focused ones. I'm probably going to do a couple on a few videos on important milestones that I've hit on my financial journey. And yeah, we're probably going to do a couple of breakdowns on those from a fully invested perspective, because like now looking back, I'm like, hey, if I was like working towards this, like where would I have been here? But yeah, let me know down in the comments what you guys want to talk about, because like obviously I riff these, but like if somebody asks a specific topic, I will entertain it and probably do it and probably give you a shout out. So till next week, people, it's your boy Reckless Ray Dinero. This has been Bag Talk on Future Financial Strategies, and I'm out of here. Peace.
Money on my mind, yeah. Focus, got no time for games, nah. I don't play, man, I'm all about that financial literacy. Investing in my future, building generational wealth. Dollar bills, they be calling my name, but I ain't chasing fame, I'm chasing change. Learn the game, now I'm playing it smart. Putting my money to work, it's an art. I'm stacking paper, building my own empire. No more living check to check, I'm getting higher. Investing in stocks, real estate, and more. Gotta secure the bag, that's what I came for.